I recently discovered something that has shattered my world, 4 out of 5 of my children aren't biologically mine. My wife refuses to discuss it, and I'm struggling to make sense of everything. First, a word of caution: do not rely on ancestry kits as a definitive paternity test. If you truly need to verify if a child is biologically yours, I urge you to go to a medical laboratory for a proper paternity test. Ancestry tests can provide clues, but they are not precise tools for determining paternity. In my situation, it was the alarm bell that pushed me to get a reliable test. To give some context, my children are 33F, 30F, 28M, 24F, and 14F. I'm 5 feet 2 inches, and my wife is 5 feet 1 inch. I apologize in advance if this question feels inappropriate or out of place, but I need advice. I originally posted this on r/relationships, but it was locked, and a moderator directed me to r/parenting. However, I also need guidance on how to navigate my relationship with my wife, so I'm asking here. Let me begin by saying I'm sorry if this post turns out long and rambling. I'm in a state of utter disbelief and emotional turmoil. Over the past couple of weeks, my life has been completely upended. I'll do my best to provide as much background as possible to receive the most informed advice. For now, I'm not ready to discuss this with friends, family, or even my siblings. Background: my wife and I met in high school and got married during college. We've been together for decades, and we've raised 5 incredible children whom I consider to be an absolute blessing, no matter what I've recently learned. Until just a few weeks ago, I genuinely believed we had the perfect marriage. We were the quintessential high school sweethearts. We spent time together, rarely argued, and I did everything I thought a loving husband should do. To be clear, I'm not trying to paint myself as flawless. I know my demanding job kept me away for long hours, and there may have been times she needed more emotional or physical support than I provided. Still, I never thought our marriage was in jeopardy. Not once did it cross my mind that my wife could be unfaithful. She has always supported me and taken excellent care of our children. The discovery. It all started when my eldest daughter decided to take an ancestry test out of curiosity. When the results came in, they strongly indicated that I wasn't her biological father. Understandably shaken, she confided in me privately and showed me the results. I could see how much this revelation upset her. The first thing I did was reassure her that nothing could ever change the fact that she's my daughter. I told her I would always love her unconditionally, no matter what. But to be sure, we agreed to get an official paternity test because ancestry kits are not foolproof. When the results came back, they confirmed the worst: I am not her biological father. I was utterly devastated. I broke down in front of her, and while I regret showing my pain so openly, I couldn't hold it in. I felt like my world was crumbling, not only because of my wife's betrayal but also because of how much my reaction hurt my daughter. I wish I had been stronger for her sake. Expanding the tests. After learning this, I decided I needed to understand the full extent of my wife's infidelity. I called my other 3 adult children, excluding my youngest, who is still in school and too young to handle this, and told them what had happened. I reassured them of my unwavering love and explained that I would always be their father, regardless of biology. I also explained that I needed answers for my own peace of mind. Their support moved me to tears. None of them cared about biology, they only cared about my emotional well-being. Their love and understanding are the only things keeping me afloat right now. We proceeded to do paternity tests for the 3 older children, and the results were devastating. Not one of them is biologically mine. Even worse, the results revealed that 4 of my children have 3 different biological fathers. This somehow made everything feel even more painful. It wasn't just one affair, it was multiple. Confronting my wife. I confronted my wife with the results, expecting her to confess or at least show remorse. Instead, she dismissed the tests entirely, claiming they must all be flawed. 4 separate tests, flawed. Her denial only deepened my frustration. When I persisted, she began guilt-tripping me, asking how I could possibly distrust her after being together since high school. But how can I trust her when faced with such overwhelming evidence? Advice needed. I'm left reeling, unsure of how to move forward. I'd like advice on a few things. How can I reassure my children that nothing has changed in our relationship? How do I deal with a wife who refuses to acknowledge the truth? I feel like my emotional reaction to this situation, breaking down completely, has caused my children to second-guess my reassurances, no matter how many times I've told them that nothing has changed. I'm deeply concerned about how to handle this with my youngest daughter. Our marriage feels irreparably broken, and at some point, I'll have to explain something to her. I don't want her to learn the truth until she's older, but at the same time, I fear my wife might twist the narrative and make me seem like the villain. Is there any way, any possible way, you think I could or should save my marriage? I've been with my wife for nearly my entire life, and imagining a life without her feels almost impossible. I understand the obvious answer might be to leave her, but we've built a family together. We have 5 children, and I feel I owe it to them to seriously consider every possible avenue before deciding to end the marriage. Edit. I want to thank everyone who has taken the time to offer advice and support. While I haven't responded to as many comments as I should have, I've read every single one. Your words have truly made a difference and given me much to think about. I'll keep reading any additional comments or messages you send, and I cannot thank you enough for the support. If this situation finds resolution, I may post an update. However, if my wife continues to deny everything, I don't think there will be much more I can add that hasn't already been discussed here or in the r/parenting thread. After reflecting on all the advice, I've decided to take the following steps. Get a second round of tests, just in case this is some kind of improbable, freak error. Confront my wife again, this time with all 4 of my older children present. Discuss the situation with my youngest daughter. I'll ask if she wants a paternity test, leaving the decision entirely up to her. Seek therapy. My mental state has deteriorated rapidly over the past few weeks, and I owe it to my children to maintain stability. Consider counseling. If my wife decides to come clean and offers a genuine explanation, I won't rule out counseling. However, unless her attitude undergoes a drastic change, I believe divorce is likely inevitable. Contact a lawyer. I want to prepare for divorce proceedings, should it come to that. Once again, I deeply appreciate the time you've taken to share your advice and support. Additional clarifications. Several people have asked about specific details, so I'd like to clarify a few things. How did the ancestry results suggest I wasn't her father? My family is entirely of Irish descent, with no relatives outside of Ireland apart from my immediate family. I also have the stereotypical red hair. My daughter's ancestry results showed no connection to the British Isles, Western Europe, or Northern Europe. That raised the first alarm, but I knew it wasn't conclusive, which is why I pursued proper paternity tests. Which of the children share the same father? My 2 eldest daughters have the same biological father. How were your children conceived? Our eldest daughter wasn't planned. The other children were planned, conceived several months after we began trying. The first 3 planned children were mutual decisions, but my wife pressured me into having our youngest. She was in her late 30s and wanted one more child before it became too late. Eventually, I agreed, and she was conceived several months after we started trying. Are you infertile? I don't know yet. I've never taken a fertility test, but the fact that none of the planned children are biologically mine leads me to suspect I may be. I'll be taking a fertility test as soon as possible. First update. I've received countless comments and messages asking for an update, along with numerous "remind me" comments. I'll post an update, but it won't be immediate. This situation is complex and will take time to process. It could be weeks or even months before I can provide a meaningful update. I promise I'll share when I'm ready. Once again, thank you for the outpouring of support. Second update. I debated whether to post this because, frankly, nothing has been resolved. However, I wanted to provide closure for those who have been waiting. I apologize for not updating sooner when I initially promised I would. Shortly after making the Reddit post, my children and I confronted their mother. It went horribly. I believe the realization that no one trusted her finally sunk in because she completely broke down, apologized profusely, but refused to offer any explanation or do anything to give me peace of mind. For weeks, we barely spoke to each other. I hoped she was taking the time to think things through and that she would eventually sit me down to explain herself. I thought perhaps she was so trapped in a web of lies that she needed time to untangle it all. But no. One evening, I came home to find she had taken her own life by overdosing. Just like that, I lost the love of my life, and I'll never have answers about the mistakes she made. I wish more than anything I could go back in time and undo everything. Whatever mistakes she made, I wanted to work through them. Now, I'm consumed with guilt for pressing her for answers. The most devastating part of this ordeal has been watching my children work tirelessly to keep me together after losing their mother. Please, if you're reading this, tell your loved ones how much you care while you still have the chance.